We'll get started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of a very busy week, both student and staff, to join us for this information session on the C's 4+1 pathways, but specifically IEOR. So I'm Christine Valenza Shin. I'm Executive Director of Beyond Barnard, and Beyond Barnard has two roles in the 4+1 pathways. We are the administrative liaison. We connect with folks here at Barnard, specifically faculty advisors, as well as the registrar. And then we also connect with our colleagues over at Columbia in the various offices that support the master's program for each of the pathways. So in the room today is myself, as I just mentioned, Executive Director of Beyond Barnard. Professor Martina Jasova is the faculty lead for the IEOR pathways. We'll clarify, she's actually just for the rest of the semester, and then there'll be a trade-off. I'll give you more information on that shortly. And then, and I forgot to list her. Also in the room is Claire Nash, my colleague here at Beyond Barnard, whom many of you, she's sort of the first line of communication. So many of you have probably sent her emails, gotten emails from her as well, and invaluable support for all things 4+1. And then from the Fu Foundation School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, fondly known as C's, we have Natasha Stanislas from admissions, who will talk about the admissions process, and Chris Lee, who's an academic and student affairs advisor for the IEOR program. So again, thanks to all of you for taking time to join us and share information for students who are we have a combo of students who are interested in thinking about it, and then others who are probably may even have started their application or are definitely planning on applying in February of their junior year. So today we're going to do a brief overview of the 4+1 pathways, talk a little bit about the application timeline and process, and then delve more deeply into the different IEOR pathways, curriculum and resources, both what's available to you as an undergrad and then what's available to you once you're in year 4 and year 5. Working on the master's. And then, as I mentioned, we'll leave time for questions and answers. So the accelerated 4+1 pathways, some of them predated officially being called 4+1 pathways. That language emerged 7 or 8 years ago. But in general, they are a partnership between Barnard and specific schools and programs over at Columbia. And they allow students to efficiently combine an undergraduate liberal arts education at Barnard with a master's degree at Columbia. And most of them are designed, although there's several variations on it, where that 4th year is sort of that key hybrid year where you are finishing up Barnard, but starting on the master's degree to a certain measure, and then the +1 year or year 5 is the year to complete the master's work. And so in the course of the 5 years, you get the BA from Barnard, and in this case, the MS from Columbia C's. So going back for a second, we have formal 4+1 pathway partnerships with the Mailman School of Public Health, with the School of International and Public Affairs, with the Harriman Institute, and with the QMSS program, the Quantitative Methods in Social Science, which is under the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, and then with C's. And there are multiple C's pathways. And today we're focusing specifically on the Industrial Engineering and Operations Research, IEOR. Barnard majors, the most typical Barnard major is economics or economics and statistics, but other pathways, other majors can come in. I'll give more detail about in a moment. And then just to round things out, we also, C's also offers pathways, 4+1 pathways in chemical engineering, biomedical, civil, electrical, or mechanical engineering, and computer science. So but you all are here for IEOR, and I wanted to talk just briefly before turning it over about advising and support for you in this process, both when you're considering a 4+1 pathway, when you're actively applying, and once you are, accepted into the pathway. And beyond. So we are here, Beyond Barnard advisors are here to support you, and you should check in with us We see a lot of first years and sophomores who just want to talk about their interest in the pathway and how they fit generally within your academic and interest and career goals. We're also here to help you go over the application requirements and timeline that'll be outlined today, and then give application support. And the things we most typically do in the application support are we often will talk to you about your personal statement. Sometimes it's at the very beginning when you're brainstorming. Sometimes it's a midpoint draft. Sometimes it's the final draft. But we'll take a look at that. We'll look at your resume and CV specifically for IEOR and give advice on who to identify as references. And I just want to make a note here that beyond Barnard, in addition to general career support at Barnard, we support all students interested in graduate school, whether it's a 4+1 pathway, or if you're applying as a senior to go straight into a graduate program, or even if you're weighing the decision, should I go to graduate school right away? Should I work for a couple of years? Should I never go to graduate school? We're here for those larger conversations about your interests and your plans and how it all fits together. The Barnard faculty leads are your go-to person about specifics on academics. How will you finish your requirements at Barnard? How will you fit in your major and minor requirements and other academic goals as they relate to the 4+1? There's a lot of planning that is involved in some of these. And then looking at years 4 and year 5, how will you fit your C's MS requirements into those 2 years? And then our colleagues over at Columbia see as administrators, advisors, and faculty. When you're looking at the specific C's program and some of the pathways within it, questions about that, making decisions about what might be a good fit. I mean, certainly the Barnard faculty leads can talk to you about that a little as well. How does undergrad flow into graduate school? But the people, on the ground over at Columbia can also give you lots of information about that if you're thinking about the details. Any questions about application logistics, if you're having trouble with the actual application account and process, would go to the Columbia folks because they manage that process. And then certainly can also talk to you as all of us can about the possible career pathways a C's degree can open up, and they would be they'd be able to directly connect you to alums and various other folks who are graduates, either currently in the program or moving on. So that's just to get you a little bit grounded, but now let's talk a little bit about the application timeline and process so you know sort of what you're aiming at, and then we'll move on to other things. So I'll turn things over to Natasha.
Thank you so much. So my name is Natasha Stanislaus. I'm with the Graduate Admissions Office at Columbia Engineering, or CES, for those that know. A little bit about me. I've been with Columbia. I've been reminded for this morning, really long time. I'm a first generation college student. I've worked a few different graduate admissions offices on campus. And, the role of the graduate admissions office is to really facilitate the admissions process. So as Christine said, if you have any questions about the actual system, something goes haywire for some reason at the 11th hour, you have questions about the way something's phrased on the application, you have just questions about the requirements themselves, we do want to be as available as possible. So that's not just the general email address, that's my personal email address. I'll also be sure that QR code is working. But if there's anything we can do, please do reach out to myself. It's really important to ask questions when you have them. I think the graduate admissions process is stressful as is. So hopefully the pursuing conversation about the timeline and requirements will be of help to you, but if not, please reach out. So with that, I'll go over the application timeline on the next slide. I think when it comes to the timeline, it's important to remember that it's pretty much the same every single year. So for those freshmen, those sophomores that are eager and are trying to get a sense of maybe how to plan ahead, you can pretty much bet that these deadlines will be exactly the same. That way you're able to plan ahead moving forward. And then you're able to just make sure that you're timing your requirements and completing everything as much as possible. So in your junior year, the application itself opens by September 1st. Sometimes it's available a few days earlier than that, but by September 1st is a really good, mindful, just kind of date to have in mind of when the application itself will be available. In terms of the application closing February 15th, I don't know that we're that strict to close it at exactly 11:59 February 15th, but February 15th is considered the deadline. So that is when the application should be complete, submitted, with all required materials there. If you need a few extra minutes or hours, we can always help out. And really, the goal is to give you those decisions by May. It's important for us to allow you to plan ahead for your senior year, and so that's pretty much the timeline itself. And then your senior year, you're still very much a Barnard student. You're still able to use the resources of Beyond Barnard. You're still able to, live where you're living and continue your senior year of college. But you are able to start chipping away at that Master's of Science degree with the help of our advisors. And then you're actually, if admitted to the pathway, your senior year, you're working on the completion app. So it is a two-part process. It's really important to keep in mind that that first process is technically conditional. You're saying, I want to be able to take those graduate level courses and prove that I'm able to chip away at my master's degree early. Your second year, you're actually taking those classes depending on your pathway that will change the amount of credits, but you're rounding out your Barnard degree while also taking additional courses at C's. So into the actual requirements themselves, the requirements, we are doing our best to keep it simple. And that's probably one of the many benefits of this pathway program is that not only are you saving time and resources in the actual graduate experience, we are also simplifying the application requirements for you. So the application is available on our website. We have a single, online application system where you are choosing the particular pathway application. We do need your It says official transcripts here. We do need a copy of your official transcripts, which is technically considered unofficial. And that can be very confusing, but we just want a copy of the real thing. So if you have a copy, that's fine. There's no need to get the registrar involved. There's no need to pay for any transcripts. What we don't want is you in a Word doc or a Google Doc typing in what your classes are or taking a screenshot of your schedule to say you took those classes. So that's why we use this very formal language. So technically it is an unofficial copy, also known as a copy of an official. The GPA should be 3.5. That is considered the minimum. That being said, for our anyone who's listening and you've got a 3.4, if you can really just round, to kind of like these small decimals to 3.5, I would say still apply. I would say still consider yourself for this program, still pursue it. It is ultimately up to the faculty to decide whether or not you are a good fit for the program. 3.5 is a really good threshold for understanding whether or not you will be able to handle the graduate level coursework, but you don't want to count yourself out before you even get started. So I would say if you are very, very close, like this pathway program exists because we want Barnard students, please, again, don't hesitate to actually apply. You'll need the personal statement, resume, or CV. As Christine said, those are great things to ask Beyond Barnard for some assistance with and some feedback. And we will need the contact information for 3 reference providers, not the actual letters, just the contact information. Uh, 2 should be academic. 1 could be from an internship or, maybe a research position or a part-time job. And preferably 1 should be from a faculty member that's in the department that you're looking to pursue a program with. So if you're applying to the pathway for industrial engineering and operations research, hopefully, an IEOR faculty member is able to vouch for your application. But again, we're not asking for letters. We're just asking for their contact details, and then the committee may reach out to them. And then when it comes to the standardized tests and the application fee, it's completely waived. It's not optional, it is waived. So again, another bonus for the process is just simply not having to deal with these additional requirements, and streamlining not just the experience, but the process itself. So now I'll talk a little bit about the frequently asked questions before I hand it over to talking a little bit more into details about the academics of it all. For all the pathways. A question that comes up a lot is about whether or not the admissions from the pathway is guaranteed. And technically, it's not. It is very much considered to be conditional admission. But as long as you're following your advisor's direction, taking classes that are required of you, and keeping that 3.5 GPA, that pathway to the completion app process should be very straightforward. We're very clear on what we need in order to admit you formally into the master's degree program. But again, those are your classes. Taking the wrong classes, going against your advisor's, I would say, very clear instructions, and not maintaining your GPA will, of course, mean that unfortunately you won't be able to take the pathway directly into the master's program. Another question that comes up a lot are about funding, what funding opportunities exist for the Master of Science program itself. I do want to be very clear that graduate degrees are funded differently than the undergraduate degrees. So at Barnard in college, you probably worked with your family to complete a FAFSA and a CSS profile. You submitted financial data, and the school worked to create a financial aid package that met your demonstrated need. That does not exist on the graduate level. So graduate funding or government funding doesn't exist for graduate programs as it does for undergraduate programs. There are fellowships you may apply to through engineering. There are non-Columbia specific fellowships from nonprofits and corporations and organizations you can pursue to finance your master's degree. I believe there's also a great fellowship option that Beyond Barnard promotes when it's available for you to be able to, again, chip away at the graduate degree. But the benefit of this program is that you are able to pursue your graduate level courses while already a student. You're saving, again, time and money in a lot of cases than saying applying to a separate graduate school experience. And so while there may not be funding, whether you're in the pathway or not, you're still, once a pathway student, saving your resources by pursuing this instead. And another question is, like, what other application options are available? What if the pathway is not for me? What if I want to go and work for a few years? What if I want to kind of see what my other options are? If you don't pursue the pathway program, it's okay. Know that recent graduates are able to pursue what we call our MS Express. It's a different, really, pathway program for recent alumni. So if you graduate, walk away, get some great work experience. Maybe you pursue a research co-op somewhere and you want to come back to Columbia University and you're within 3 years. You're able to essentially pursue the same application, no GRE and no references, just the contact details, really a shortened and streamlined admissions process, and be able to pursue a master's degree at Columbia Engineering. So I hope that provides you some context for how the actual application itself is different, and kind of how the requirements itself are different. But of course, if you have any additional questions, I am more than happy to help. I'll also be sticking around to chime in for any questions that come up in the Q&A.
Great, thank you, Natasha. And now we'll take a look at the IEOR pathways, curriculum, and resources, both while still in undergrad and then moving into the master's program. So we'll start with Professor Jasova. If you want to introduce yourself and go from there.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Martina Czesova, and I'm an assistant professor here at the economics department at Barnard College. On the slides, you should see the main contact information about how you can reach me. Ideally, you can definitely always reach me via email, mczesova@barnard.edu. I'm also here available during office hours, but as the semester's coming to an end, I guess we're slowly running out of those office hour slots. So if you don't find anything, just email me and I'm very happy to talk to you. Now, I'll serve as the Barnard faculty lead for the IEOR for the next couple of weeks. And Professor Sethi is going to step in thank you very much, for the spring semester as an interim faculty lead. He's going to be supporting you from January until May, essentially, or, if you have questions over the summer. And then September next year, I'll be back and I'll take over again. Professor Sethi has been a faculty lead before, so he's also very well experienced in guiding students. So feel free to reach out either me still this calendar year or then Professor Sethi from January onwards. All right, so a few things that we wanted to talk about is that our main task, either Professor Sethi or mine, is to help you planning for courses as you are still at Barnard and you're thinking about applying for the 4+1. And specifically for this purpose, we have created a part of our website that can help you understand how to sequence the courses in one possible way that could work for you. And that's the link you can see on the slides. Now, this is an average general advice for, a median student. Now, everybody's different, and so it doesn't mean that you have to follow this exact pairing that we proposed in this document, but it's a good starting point, especially if you're earlier on, freshmen, sophomores, and you're thinking about planning for the 4+1. This could give you some potential guideline as to when to take which courses so that you don't get to feel overwhelmed. Now, obviously, feel free to always stop by, and we're happy to help you pair those courses with your econ major or any other major as well. Now, on this website, what you will see is that the proposed pairing of the required courses that I'll talk about in just a second is suggested to be done with the Econ and Math major that we offer here at Barnard Econ Department, jointly with Math. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to be Econ Math major to apply for the 4+1. The only reason why we propose this pairing is that as you are fulfilling the 4 prerequisite courses that are required for the IEOR, you're automatically ticking off the boxes of the required courses for Econ and Math. So essentially, it's a little bit less work for you. Now, every year we have students from regular econ majors or any other major who are successfully applying and getting into a 4+1 program. So I just want to emphasize that the econ math is not a requirement. It's simply the easiest way to fulfill those courses without increasing your course workload, but you can definitely make it work with any other major at Barnard as well. Perfect. And so I mentioned that there are 4 courses that are relevant for you to take before you are applying, and specifically in terms of the timeline, these 4 courses should be completed by the end of your fall semester of your junior year. So if you're juniors right now, these should be the courses that you have taken or are taking this semester, and you will have them completed by the February deadline. Now, those 4 courses are linear algebra, introduction to probability and statistics, multivariate calculus for Cs, all Calc 3 that is offered at the math department, and then foundations of data science. Now, I want to mention 2 things that are potentially relevant here. The second prerequisite is called Introduction to Probability and Statistics, but don't get misled by the name introduction. This is one of the points where you want to talk to us. Because it is a 4,000 level course, you should think about it more as a master's level Introduction to Probability and Stats. So it's possible that if you took different probability and stats earlier, you might still need to take this one by the time of your application. And then the final thing I'll mention here for the foundations of all of the first 3 courses automatically count into your econ and math major, even if you choose not to apply for the 4+1 or your life changes in some way. You can always use them for your econ math. The last course, Foundations of Data Science, can count as an elective to the econ math, but only if you end up pursuing the 4+1. And again, this is a conversation you can have with me or with Professor Sethi as you're planning the courses. But these are the 4 key things that should be completed by the time of your application.
Great. Thank you. So that's the Barnard side of things, at least part of the Barnard side. So now let's move across the street to our colleagues at Columbia, and Chris Lee is here today to talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so excited to speak to all our potential Barnard applicants to the 4+1 pathway for IEOR. So my name is Chris. I've been an advisor at IEOR now for a little bit. I've been with IEOR since 2021, and I'm the direct advisor to all 5 MS programs. So if you have any questions about our MS programs, happy to answer offline as well after this. Also, we have Carmen, my colleague, who's the director of the academic team as well. And I will move on to the next section here. Yeah, so we have 5 MS programs at IEOR. We have operations research, industrial engineering, financial engineering, business analytics, and management science and engineering. So for the OR and IE programs, those will be a bit similar to each other. The actual only one difference in terms of course requirements is one single core courses difference, which will be, I believe, off the top of my head, it's simulation versus supply chain analytics. So it will be 30 credits overall for the OR and IE programs. And at IEOR, we like to have the motto of, you're learning about the science of better. So you're learning about how to make things better or more optimal in, let's say for OR, financial and managerial applications, supply chain management, which is also more geared towards industrial engineering as well. So the financial sector, healthcare sector, many different sectors. And I would say that the OR and IE programs are kind of designed so that you can take a whole bunch of different types of electives based off what you're interested in applying that type of learning about the science of better in. So yeah, I would say that pretty much covers the OR section, and then I'll head over to the IE section right now, which, as I have explained before, very similar in terms of total credits and in terms of actual course requirements to graduate. For the areas of study, we typically see a lot of students that target these areas, but mainly a lot of them, like to work in supply chain analytics. Therefore, they enroll in a lot of elective credits, such as, off the top of my head, production, scheduling, transportation analytics, and many of these types of courses as well. So that would, be some of the focus areas that you can be interested in when you're in the IE program. And for the FE program, so obviously this is a little bit more catered towards the financial sector. We have students that come in to the FE program that want to target both the buy side or the sell side. So definitely a lot of electives and core courses that you will need for both sides as well. So, you'll be taking courses in areas around financial engineering, such as Monte Carlo simulation, and statistical time analysis series, and many other ones that I can keep going off on the top of my head. But the main areas here, you have finance, you have asset portfolio risk management, quant. We have a lot of students that target, obviously, quantitative finance, and a lot of so all of our 5 MS programs are also very much catered towards taking what you learn in the classroom and applying them in direct business context. So a lot of the courses that you'll take in the FE program actually involve very hands-on approach with working with industry partners, just like our other programs, such as like a FE seminar component where different industry leaders in the finance field will come in and give you insights about their expertise, and you get to talk with them and network that way as well. So I'll be moving on next to the, I believe, yes, MSBA program. So for both the BA and MSc, the business analytics and the management and science and engineering programs, they are also in partnership with the business school. So for all 5 MS programs, you can still take business school courses as electives if they are pre-approved for your program, which there are a ton for all 5 programs. But for the BA and MSc program, they're housed in IEOR as an IEOR program, but they're in partnership with CBS. So you'll get some dedicated sections in, for example, decision risk operations management department at CBS. You'll have dedicated registration sections there. And for the BA program, you're targeting a little bit more on the analytical side of the spectrum in comparison to the next program I'll discuss in a minute. But you have different core courses that you'll take in marketing analytics, business analytics, data analytics. So obviously it is a little bit more analytical heavy, but that doesn't mean that you always have to target analytical rules. We have plenty of students that go more on the management side, more on the operations side, the strategic side. So it's a very open curriculum in terms of you get all you need to be able to apply to many different sectors within business analytics. And for MSE, Management Science and Engineering, I would say that, this is the program where I would say a lot of our students nowadays in this program mainly target roles like, product management and kind of the more sought after roles in today's market right now. So a lot of those courses as well, you'll be able to take in our elective courses that are approved for this program, such as at CBS, at Columbia Business School, product marketing or product management and digital product management lab, and many other areas of study as well. We have healthcare operations management. We have, all these different sectors that you can apply the MSc program in. And it's also in partnership with CBS, Columbia Business School. So for both of these programs, you'll have to take Columbia Business School electives. For the MSBA program, marketing analytics, which is a core, is actually housed underneath Columbia Business School as well. And both of these programs have their respective capstone course. For the MSBA program, it is analytics and practice. And for the MSE program, it is, it's going off the top of my head right now, but I think it was industry projects. I can double check that for you in a little bit, but yes. And for those final capstone courses, you'll be working with industry partners directly. My apologies for the delay. It's operations consulting. So yes, all of these 5 programs are very much heavy-handed in a lot of our professors not only come from an academic background and have heavy research in their respective fields, but are leaders in their respective industries who have worked on at Goldman, in Wall Street, and many different areas in healthcare for many different years before coming on as a professor as well. So hopefully that gives some insight into our 5 master's programs. And over here, it's just our advising model that we like to approach. You'll be assigned a faculty advisor who you can go to for any direct questions about courses. Obviously, you can go to me or the academic team as well for that, but you'll get a faculty advisor, a career placement coach based off your program. Each program will have their own individual career placement coach, and the academic team to help hopefully advise you towards graduation, and then add all of them, and hopefully you'll be hired in your dream role. So thank you so much. I think that's my section.
The only thing I was going to add is that in addition to these courses, there's professional development mini courses and sort of one-offs. Can you just give a brief summary of that?
Yes. Actually, before coming to IEOR, I worked at PDL, so this is perfect. Yeah, the Professional Development and Leadership Office, PDL, we work in conjunction with PDL, which they have a set of core courses that you have to take. All 5 MS programs are required to complete the PDL requirement in order to graduate, but they're really meant to help you prepare you while you're a student, and even during the summer before you're onboarded at times as well, depending on when you're planning on coming in. You learn areas in resume, cover letter, business communication, business writing, and a lot more. And there's a whole bunch of electives as well that you can enroll in. So yeah, you'll have to complete your core, and then you'll take a couple electives that you're interested in. I'm actually at the final stages of launching a elective course in the spring as well, in Intro to Management. But yeah, so it's really an opportunity, although it's a requirement. It's more there to help prepare you and guide you on your journey to applications and make the whole process a little bit less stressful while you're a student, because you'll have a lot of things going on as well. But yes.
Great, thanks for doing that. So I'll open it in just a second to Q&A. You can ask any questions of any of us. I just want to clarify one thing, which is this overlap. So as you saw, the way Chris outlined the various pathways, some of them are a 30 credit master's and some of them are a 36 credit. You can take, depending on your academic plan, which you would work out with Professor Jasova or Professor Sethi, you can take up to 15 credits during year 4 while you're still a Barnard undergrad, and then ask for those to be transferred over once you're enrolled officially in C's during year 5. So there are no exceptions. You cannot take more than 15 credits, but you don't have to take 15 credits. You could, in theory, take 0 credits and do them all after, during year 5. What's probably most common, I'd say most of the students who've gone through the pathway take, 3, 6, or 9 credits over the course of that year 4. It really depends on how much room you have. The key factor there is none of those credits can be double counted. So you have to have room in your schedule year 4 above and beyond what you need to graduate from Barnard, your major, your minor, your general requirements, your overall number of credits. So that's an important piece of the planning as you look ahead and see how much you'll be able to fit in during year 4. The advantages of taking at least some of those credits during year 4 is that you will then, that's where the sort of time savings comes in. The more you can take while you're still at Barnard, the more flexibility you'll have during year 5 to be able to complete the remaining credits and possibly have an internship or a part-time job or a teaching assistant or research assistant role. So it gives some flexibility there. And there is also some financial savings because the courses you take while you're at Barnard in year 4, are covered by Barnard tuition, which is generally less than how much it costs to take the credits at C's. And so there's an opportunity to save a little money there, save a little bit of time, but it again takes some planning, and it depends on where you're at in your major and various other factors, which you can talk about in general with us here at Beyond Barnard and specifically with the faculty leads when it comes down to your specific academic program. So great. Well, thank you. And let's see if anybody has any questions. You're welcome to add them to the chat or to come off mute if you would like to ask a question, if anything's unclear.
I have a question. Is it possible to complete the MS program with the Barnard program within 4 years?
That would be tricky. I'll let Professor Jasova weigh in on this. So we have, generally that would come up if somebody is sort of far ahead in their Barnard requirements and is looking, so I've spoken from time to time with students, and I think Professor Jasova probably has 2 of students who could graduate from Barnard in 3 years or 3.5 years, and therefore are looking to, would be looking to start the 4+1 pathway early. So if you came in with a lot of AP credits, or if there's other reasons why you're ahead, it's definitely something we can discuss. It's easiest, yeah. So there's definitely a possibility, but it would have to be carefully planned, and we'd have to go. I will say that when those cases have come up, that C's admissions has been very flexible about that. So for instance, if you were to graduate Barnard in 3.5 years and want to start be officially full-time at C starting in the following January, they're pretty flexible. There's no insistence that you wait until September roll around. So there's some flexibility on the C's end. It's probably more complicated on the Barnard end, but happy to talk it through with you in general, or you might want to follow up with Professor Jasova in the next couple of weeks, or Professor Sethi in the new year to go over the specifics of your plan.
Got it. Thank you.
Martina, I saw you come off mute. Did you want to add anything to that?
I completely agree with everything you've just said. I guess As long as you are sequencing your undergrad courses at Barnard in the most efficient way, I think there is potentially a path to be graduating in 3.5 years, especially if you do the econ math. The question is still how quickly you can meet those 36 credit at the IEOR, whether that would be feasible or, enjoyable to do it in just 1 year rather than 2. So it's possible, but it's probably challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're happy to talk through the possibilities. A variation on that question sometimes comes up. People will ask if it's possible to study abroad, and still fit in the 4+1 pathway. And the answer is in theory, but in practicality, it can get tricky. And so that's another area where planning, sort of as far in advance as possible. And then lots of double checking on the Barnard side as well as the Columbia side in terms of, and again, that's where sometimes our work beyond Barnard's work as a liaison is very often in those situations, so that we're able to sort of talk with Natasha and other folks on her team about some of the special cases that come up and go from there. But always ask and make sure, especially if you're reading or hearing from others sort of contradictory information, you always want to double check it. You can always start with us or with Professor Jasova, and we'll get you to the right place in terms of, resolving any of these kind of detailed things.
Yeah, I'll just add here, in case you are any type of an econ major and you're considering a 4+1 with IEOR, it is customary here in the econ department that all the students that are even thinking about the IEOR 4+1 program will be assigned as to be advisees of either myself or Professor Sethi, even for your regular major. And we do recommend that, especially if you have questions that are maybe broader than the IEOR, but you're thinking about study abroad, you're thinking about other things, it's easier to have the same conversation with us. So we can immediately introduce you to all those trade-offs and you can make the best decision for yourself. So if you're thinking about it, make sure you get one of us as your major advisors regardless.
Well, that's a good point. We have a question in the chat for the contacts of references for letters of recommendations. To clarify, can we have 2 from outside internships and 1 from faculty? And can they be from managers at jobs we've worked at as well? Natasha, do you have any details on that?
Great question. I would say, generally speaking, whether it's for the pathway or not, committees love to see feedback from academic sources. So ideally, they're from faculty. Ideally, it's from a classroom setting. It could also be from a research setting if you have it. And so yeah, again, this is what's ideal. If for some reason you think that there's 2 faculty members that aren't able to support your application, you rather list 2 different managers, you can. But ideally, it would be 2 faculty and at least 1 from the area you're looking to apply to. And yeah, the third can certainly be job. The other thing is we're also not asking or requiring the letters from these sources. We're just requiring the contact details. So it kind of gives the admissions committee the ability to, if needed, to round out your application, to reach out to one. So don't necessarily feel like if a faculty member says I'm really busy, I don't think I can be a resource, I don't know if I can write an entire letter. Let them know that it's just the contact details and that they may be contacted. And so maybe you'll be able to get those 2 faculty members, since it is a bit of a low lift for them. They may not actually have to provide a letter in the end. I also see a different question about applying to multiple programs. This is a great question. I believe if you're applying to the pathway program, is the question, can I apply to multiple pathways? Or can I apply to multiple C's graduate programs? The question is, can I apply for multiple C's graduate programs? The answer is pretty much no, but also depending on the timing of your education, you probably aren't eligible for multiple applications at once, if we've done that right. But if you are graduating Barnard and would like to pursue an MS Express and on campus and a CBN program, that would not be possible. And generally speaking, you do need to choose. We want to make sure we're respectful of the admissions committee time and the faculty reviewing your applications. But if you have any questions about the various programs and how to make the best kind of selection for you and your professional pathway, you're able to use Beyond Barnard as a resource. You can talk to your advisors and academic support. You can talk to admissions admissions, just to kind of learn more about the different programs in general. But if there's any kind of further questions along the line of multiple programs, like be sure to let me know. I'm happy to help.
If if you meant, could you apply, I think it's, seems like it's the question is the multiple programs, or I can choose only one in the application. Yeah, so in the actual application, you choose the one that you're most interested in. Yes. Excellent. But I'll just echo what Natasha said, that if you want more information about what might be the best match for you, in terms of your interests and your background and your future goals, then you can certainly talk that through. I would say less with us here at Beyond Barnard, because we're not experts on econ and IEOR careers, but I think that the faculty leads here and folks over at Columbia can help give you more information about some of the programs that Chris gave the quick overview of, and figuring out what's the best match for you. Other questions? Well, great. I just want to say, next steps from here, if you're a first year or sophomore, if you want to still talk in general about your decision-making process and how this might fit in, different options you're considering, then absolutely follow up with us here at Beyond Barnard. If you have a lot of questions about making your academic plan, definitely see Professor Jasova or Professor Sethi. Juniors who are getting ready to apply to the program can speak to us about application support. And in general, just if you don't know where to start, email us at Beyond Barnard and we will get your question to the right person. And we look forward to seeing you all, fielding your questions and seeing you through the application process. Thanks everyone so much again, all my colleagues for joining in, and to the students for attending, and we'll talk to everybody soon.